The Galactic Union's great library was the repository of all known knowledge across the galaxy. It housed texts, holograms, and genetic memories from thousands of species, a testament to the vast and diverse civilizations that filled the stars. Yet there was one file in the human section that puzzled the scholars of the Union. A single word with no direct translation: night. 4 decades, linguists, historians, and cultural experts from dozens of species tried to unravel its meaning. It wasn't the first untranslatable concept they had encountered, but this one seemed especially enigmatic. The term appeared often in human literature, art, and history, always tied to notions of honor, duty, and combat, yet it defied simple categorization. To the Draxian warrior caste, it resembled their Valtor, the sworn champions who defended their clans. But when they consulted human scholars, they were told it wasn't the same. To the cerebral Zelvan philosophers, it evoked their concept of Jaren, the ethical guardians of truth. Yet humans rejected that comparison as well. Even the Illithim, whose crystalline thought forms encompassed billions of conceptual nuances, admitted they could not encapsulate the term in their language. The matter became a topic of academic curiosity and eventually intrigue. The Union decided to send a delegation to Earth, hoping to better understand the mysterious concept. Among them were Tilax, a Draxian combat historian, Aler, a Zelvan philosopher, and Vrital, a Illithim archivist. They were joined by their human liaison, Captain Sarah Hayes of Earth's Interstellar Corps. The delegation arrived on Earth during an annual festival known as Knight's Day, celebrated in regions across the planet. Sarah greeted them warmly, explaining that the timing was perfect to explore the meaning of the word. The festival, she said, was a modern homage to a centuries-old tradition that had defined much of humanity's history. Their journey began in a medieval museum, where ancient suits of armor gleamed under soft lighting. The Draxian, Tilax, examined the metal plates and chainmail with a critical eye, noting their craftsmanship. "These appear to be battle garb," he said. "Were knights merely warriors?" Sarah smiled. "Not merely warriors, Tilax. They fought, yes, but they also swore oaths, to protect, to serve, to uphold ideals greater than themselves." "Oaths?" Aler tilted their translucent head. "Do you mean a code? A set of moral guidelines?" "Exactly," Sarah said. Knights followed a code of chivalry, which emphasized honor, loyalty, and compassion. Tilax crossed his arms. "Honor and loyalty I understand, but compassion? How does that aid in combat?" "It doesn't always," Sarah admitted. But it wasn't just about fighting. Knights were expected to be protectors of the weak, to stand against injustice. The Draxian snorted. "Sounds idealistic." "It was," Sarah said, "and humans didn't always live up to it. But the idea of the knight became a symbol, something to aspire to, even when we failed." Vrital's crystalline form flickered with curiosity. "So the term is aspirational, not merely descriptive?" "Exactly," Sarah replied. Knights were historical figures, yes, but they also became legends. Stories of courage, sacrifice, and unwavering dedication to a cause. The delegation's next stop was a jousting tournament, a modern reenactment of an ancient sport. Armored competitors on horseback charged each other with lances, the thunder of hooves echoing across the field. Tilax watched intently, his respect for the human warriors growing. "This is combat, yet ritualized. It's not about victory alone." "No," Sarah agreed. "It's about demonstrating skill, discipline, and respect for one's opponent." Later, they visited a memorial dedicated to real-life knights, military and civilian heroes who had sacrificed themselves for the greater good. Sarah explained that the concept of knighthood had evolved over centuries. Modern-day knights might not wear armor, but their actions, rescuing others, standing against tyranny, fighting for justice, still carried the spirit of the tradition. But this word knight, Ayler mused. It seems to be more than a title. It is an identity, a way of being. Sarah nodded. That's right. A knight isn't just someone who fights or protects. It's someone who holds themselves to a higher standard, who acts not for personal gain but for the benefit of others. Someone willing to sacrifice everything for what they believe is right. Tilax grunted. Your species elevates the idea of the warrior to something noble. Not just warriors, Sarah said. Knights are more than fighters. They're symbols of hope, of what we strive to be at our best. As the delegation's visit continued, they saw countless examples of the concept in human culture. Knights appeared in ancient legends, modern films, even video games and virtual reality simulations. They were both historical figures and mythic ideals, living on in humanity's collective imagination. When the time came to leave Earth, the delegation returned to the Great Library to present their findings. Vrital spoke first. The word knight is untranslatable not because it lacks equivalents in other cultures, but because it transcends definition. It is a paradox, both historical and mythical, a title and an ideal. Ayler added, it is a reflection of humanity's duality. You strive for perfection while acknowledging imperfection. You create symbols like the knight to guide you, even knowing you may never fully embody them. Tilax, ever blunt, concluded, in my culture, warriors are tools of conquest. In yours, they are guardians of ideals. Perhaps that is why your kind values this word so deeply. The file in the Great Library was updated with their observations, yet the word knight remained untranslated. It became a point of fascination for scholars across the galaxy, a reminder of humanity's complexity, its contradictions, and its relentless pursuit of something greater. For the humans, the mystery of the word was never about its translation. It was about its meaning, a meaning that lived not in words, but in actions. To be a knight was to strive, to protect, to sacrifice, and to inspire. It was an idea that needed no translation because it could be understood in the hearts of all who heard it. Years after the Galactic Union's delegation returned from Earth, the concept of the knight spread beyond academic circles, inspiring curiosity and admiration among species who had never encountered such a multifaceted idea. The reports filed in the Great Library sparked debates, cultural experiments, and even adaptations of the human concept in civilizations far removed from Earth. The Illithim, for instance, began composing crystalline thought songs about the knight's ideals, weaving them into their own philosophy of collective harmony. The Draxian clans, initially skeptical, held their first-ever trial of the oath, where young warriors took vows to protect not just their clans, but the weak and oppressed in their territories. The Zelvans, cerebral and logical, hosted symposiums dissecting the moral implications of knighthood, concluding that it represented an intriguing synthesis of ethics and pragmatism. But the real test of the word's power came not in debates or ceremonies, but in the shadow of war. The galactic frontier was rife with tension. An ancient and nomadic race, the Karthul, had been displaced by a cosmic disaster, a supernova that annihilated their home systems. Desperate and embittered, they turned to conquest, sweeping across the fringe territories of the Union like a tidal wave. Their biomechanical warships devoured resources and left barren worlds in their wake. Entire planets were abandoned, their populations fleeing to Union-controlled systems for refuge. The Galactic Union, unprepared for such a coordinated threat, struggled to mount a defense. Bureaucratic inertia slowed decision-making, and the Union's peacekeepers found themselves outnumbered and outmaneuvered. As the Carthul fleet advanced, panic spread through the Union's core worlds. The great civilizations of the galaxy, so accustomed to diplomacy and stability, faced the possibility of annihilation. Earth was among the systems called upon to assist. Despite being one of the youngest members of the Union, humanity had earned a reputation for resilience and ingenuity. The Union sought their military expertise and technological support, but it was something else entirely that humanity brought to the table. Captain Sarah Hayes, now an admiral in the Earth Defense Fleet, stood before the Union's High Council in an emergency session. Her voice was calm but resolute as she addressed the assembly. "The Carthul are not just a military threat," she said. "They are a test of what we stand for as a galaxy. If we respond with fear, if we scatter and protect only our own, we will fail. But if we stand together, if we fight for one another, not just for survival, but for justice, we can turn the tide." The Council debated endlessly, but it was humanity's response that set the tone for the coming conflict. Earth mobilized not just its fleets, but its ideals. Across its colonies, volunteers swore oaths reminiscent of the ancient knights of Earth, pledging to defend not just humanity, but all who could not defend themselves. They called themselves the Knights of the Accord, and their emblem, a star encircled by a blade, became a symbol of hope. As the Carthul fleet approached the Union's core, the Knights of the Accord took the vanguard. They were not the largest force, nor the most technologically advanced, but they fought with a ferocity and conviction that inspired all who stood beside them. They turned the tide in skirmishes, their presence bolstering morale and rallying fragmented forces into cohesive units. One pivotal battle took place over the planet Orax, a key Union world that housed millions of refugees. The Carthul descended in overwhelming numbers, their warships darkening the skies. The Union fleet, bolstered by the Knights of the Accord, held the line. Sarah Hayes herself led the charge, her flagship, a massive carrier named Valiant, at the heart of the defense. The Carthul were relentless, their weapons tearing through Union ships with devastating precision. But the Knights fought not just with skill, but with purpose. They executed daring maneuvers, shielding civilian evacuation ships with their own vessels. Pilots ejected from crippled fighters only to be rescued and returned to the fight. Crews worked tirelessly, sacrificing their own safety to repair ships mid-battle. On the ground, the Knights led the charge to repel Carthul landing forces. They fought side by side with alien allies, their diverse ranks a living testament to the unity they defended. Tilax, the Draxian historian who had once dismissed the concept of knighthood, now fought alongside them, wielding his clan's ancestral blade. Aylar, the Zelvan philosopher, provided tactical guidance, their analytical mind perfectly complementing the Knights' bold strategies. Even Vrital, the Illithim archivist, broadcast messages of hope and solidarity across the planet. The battle raged for days, but the tide turned when the Valiant led a daring counteroffensive, targeting the Carthul flagship. In a final act of defiance, the Knights of the Accord rammed the Valiant into the enemy ship's central core, sacrificing the carrier to disable the Carthul's command structure. The resulting chaos forced the invaders into retreat. The victory at Orax became a defining moment in the war. The Carthul, once thought unstoppable, were pushed back to the frontier. The Union, inspired by the example of the Knights, began to rally. Civilizations that had been paralyzed by fear now found strength in the ideals humanity had brought to the stars: honor, sacrifice, and the unwavering belief in the power of unity. When the war finally ended, the Carthul, their fleets decimated and their leadership in disarray, sued for peace. The Galactic Union, tempered by hardship, emerged stronger and more united than ever before. At the heart of this unity was the legacy of the Knights of the Accord. Though many of the knights had fallen, their spirit lived on. Statues of Sarah Hayes and her comrades were erected on Orax and other worlds, their names inscribed in countless languages. The concept of the knight, once untranslatable, became a universal symbol. Civilizations across the galaxy adopted it, not as a word, but as a way of life. And so, in the great library of the Galactic Union, the file for the human word knight was updated one last time. The entry read, "A concept that transcends language. A guardian, a protector, an ideal. A being who stands for others, who defends the weak, who sacrifices for the greater good. The word cannot be translated, for it is not merely a word. It is a call to action, an aspiration, a legacy." After the war against the Carthul ended, the legend of the Knights of the Accord reverberated across the galaxy. The stories of their valor and sacrifice were retold in countless ways. Songs sung by crystalline Illithim choirs, holodramas broadcast to the farthest colonies, and murals painted in the caverns of the aquatic Serkai. But for humanity, the story of the Knights was more than a tale of victory. It was a reminder of their place in a galaxy much larger than themselves, and the ideals they now carried not just for Earth, but for every corner of the cosmos. The Galactic Union, once an unwieldy bureaucracy, began to change in the aftermath of the war. Inspired by humanity's example, they sought to move beyond treaties and legislation, to forge a coalition not just of governments, but of people united by common purpose. At the center of this transformation were the Knights of the Accord, who evolved from a wartime phenomenon into a lasting institution. Humanity, ever pragmatic, formalized the Order of the Knights, opening its ranks to all species. Membership was not limited to soldiers or warriors. It welcomed medics, engineers, diplomats, and anyone who embodied the ideals of courage, sacrifice, and service. The Order became a galaxy-wide organization, with chapters established on nearly every member world of the Union. The sight of the Knight's emblem, a star encircled by a blade, became a symbol of hope in times of crisis. Yet even as the galaxy entered an age of renewal, new challenges emerged. The Silent Armada. Rumors began to circulate of a new threat lurking in the uncharted regions of the galactic rim. Traders and explorers reported sightings of ghostly ships drifting through the void, their hulls marked with no insignia and their presence unexplained. These vessels, dubbed the Silent Armada, moved without detectable propulsion, appearing and disappearing at random. At first, the reports were dismissed as exaggerations or hallucinations caused by the psychological strain of deep space travel. But when entire mining colonies began to vanish without a trace, the Galactic Union took notice. Scouts sent to investigate found planets stripped of all life, their atmospheres scorched and their cities left eerily intact. The Silent Armada was real, and it was advancing. The Union called upon the Knights of the Accord to lead the investigation. Their reputation for adaptability and bravery made them the ideal candidates for a mission fraught with uncertainty. Among the Knights was a young human named Elias Vance, a descendant of the original Knights of Earth. He was not a warrior like his ancestors, but an engineer, known for his ability to solve impossible problems under pressure. Elias led a small team on a mission to intercept one of the Silent Armada's ships. The vessel, a vast construct of unknown material, appeared abandoned. As the team boarded, they encountered no resistance, only a series of hauntingly empty corridors filled with faint, pulsating light. The interior seemed alive, shifting and reconfiguring as they moved deeper into the ship. In the heart of the vessel, Elias discovered something extraordinary. A massive crystalline core, pulsating with energy and encoded with symbols that bore an uncanny resemblance to the Vaelorian artifacts discovered years earlier. The Silent Armada was no ordinary fleet. It was a remnant of the Eclipsing Shadow, the ancient force that had destroyed the Vaelorians. The realization sent shockwaves through the Union. The Shadow, long thought to be a relic of the past, was not dormant, it was awakening. The Silent Armada was its vanguard, probing the galaxy for weaknesses. A new call to action. Faced with an existential threat, the Galactic Union turned to the Order of the Knights once again. But this time, their mission was not just to fight, it was to unify. The Shadow's arrival threatened all life, and the galaxy's survival depended on unprecedented cooperation. The Knights became emissaries, traveling to independent systems and long-forgotten colonies, rallying them to the cause. Elias Vance, now a leading figure in the Order, spearheaded efforts to adapt Vaelorian technology to counter the Shadow. Working alongside scientists and engineers from dozens of species, he developed a prototype weapon known as the Stellar Lance. It was a massive energy-based device capable of piercing the hulls of the Silent Armada's ships, disrupting their crystalline cores. The Knights led the charge, using the Stellar Lance in a series of daring engagements to slow the Armada's advance. These battles were not without cost. Many Knights gave their lives to protect vulnerable worlds. Yet their sacrifice inspired countless others to join the fight. Farmers became soldiers, scientists became strategists, and even once reclusive species emerged from their isolation to stand with the Union. The final stand. The Shadow's true nature became clear when its central construct, a colossal station larger than any known celestial body, appeared in the Orion Nebula. Dubbed the Eclipse Citadel, it emitted a gravitational field so strong it began to destabilize nearby star systems. The Union realized that if the Citadel wasn't destroyed, it would consume the galaxy itself. The Knights of the Accord led the final assault. The combined fleets of the Union converged on the Eclipse Citadel, their ships dwarfed by the sheer scale of the construct. As the battle raged, Elias Vance and a small team of Knights infiltrated the Citadel, carrying the prototype Stellar Lance. Inside, they encountered the core intelligence of the Shadow, a vast, sentient network of crystalline structures that spoke in a chorus of voices. It revealed its purpose, to bring perfect order to the galaxy by consuming all chaotic life. The Knights rejected its vision, refusing to surrender their individuality and freedom. In the climactic moments of the battle, Elias and his team activated the Stellar Lance, directing its energy into the Citadel's core. The weapon overloaded the Shadow's network, causing a chain reaction that destroyed the Citadel and the Silent Armada. The explosion lit up the nebula, a supernova of light that could be seen across the galaxy. A legacy unmatched. The destruction of the Eclipse Citadel marked the end of the Shadow's threat, but the victory came at great cost. Many Knights, including Elias Vance, perished in the final battle. Their names became legends, etched into monuments across the Union's worlds. In the aftermath, the Galactic Union solidified into a true alliance, bound not by treaties but by shared purpose. The Order of the Knights continued to serve, their ideals spreading to even the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The word knight, once untranslatable, became a universal term, understood in every language as a symbol of hope, courage, and sacrifice. And so, the story of the Knights of the Accord became more than a tale of humanity. It became the story of a galaxy united, of civilizations that stood together against the darkness, and of the eternal truth that some concepts, honor, sacrifice, and the fight for what is right, transcend words.
The Age of Unity. The destruction of the Eclipse Citadel marked the dawn of a new era, one historians would call the Age of Unity. The Galactic Union, forged in fire and tempered by the sacrifices of the Knights of the Accord, emerged stronger and more cohesive than ever before. The legend of the Knights became a guiding light for civilizations across the galaxy, inspiring generations to carry forward their ideals of courage, sacrifice, and service. The Order of the Knights of the Accord, now a permanent institution, expanded its reach. It wasn't merely a military organization, it became a movement, a way of life. On every planet touched by the Union, young beings of every species pledged themselves to the Order, swearing oaths to protect the weak, uphold justice, and stand as shields against any future threats. Earth, once seen as a minor planet on the galactic stage, became a pilgrimage site. In the deserts where the first modern knights were born, the Chapel of Unity was constructed, a towering structure made of mirrored alloys and Vaelorian crystal. The chapel became a place of reflection and renewal, where knights from across the stars would gather to reaffirm their oaths. Rediscovering the Vaelorian legacy. Even as the galaxy celebrated its hard-won peace, humanity and its allies knew that the Shadow's defeat was not the end of their journey. The remnants of the Silent Armada and the ruins of the Eclipse Citadel hinted at a far greater mystery. The Vaelorians, the ancient civilization that had once stood against the Shadow. Why had they fallen, despite their technological superiority? Could their fate still be avoided? The Celestial Initiative was revived, this time with unprecedented support from the Galactic Union. Teams of explorers, scientists, and archaeologists set out into uncharted space, searching for answers. What they found astonished the galaxy. On the edge of the galactic rim, hidden within a nebula of dense ionized gases, they discovered the Vaelorian archive. Unlike the shattered artifacts previously found, this was an intact repository of knowledge, a moon-sized structure guarded by dormant defense systems. The Knights of the Accord, led by a young and brilliant captain named Leona Idris, were instrumental in securing the archive for study. Within its crystalline halls, the initiative uncovered records of the Vaelorians' final days. The Shadow, they learned, had not been a natural phenomenon but a creation, a weapon designed to enforce order across the stars. But it had outgrown its creators, turning on them and consuming their civilization. The Vaelorians, in their hubris, had believed they could control it. Humanity, reflecting on its own history of unchecked ambition, took the lessons of the Vaelorians deeply to heart. The archive also contained technological blueprints, including designs for constructs far beyond anything the Union had imagined. Among these was the Eternal Bastion, a network of automated defense stations that could be deployed across the galaxy, ensuring no single entity could ever threaten the stars again. The dawn of the Eternal Bastion. The construction of the Eternal Bastion became the Union's greatest project, uniting species and resources on a scale never before seen. Spanning thousands of systems, the Bastion was more than a network of weapons. It was a symbol of the galaxy's unity. Each station, designed with input from dozens of civilizations, represented the collective strength of the Union. The Knights of the Accord, now more than ever, became stewards of this unity. They served not just as defenders, but as emissaries, diplomats, and mediators. Their presence on the Bastion stations ensured that no species felt excluded or forgotten. Captain Leona Idris, whose leadership had secured the Vaelorian archive, rose to prominence within the Order. Her vision for the Knights emphasized not only their martial prowess but their role as symbols of hope. "The Knight is not just a warrior," she often said. "A Knight is a bridge, a connection between the strong and the weak, between past and future, between what we are and what we aspire to be." The unknown signal. As the galaxy adjusted to its new age of peace, a signal was detected from beyond the edges of known space. It was faint, fragmented, and carried an unmistakable signature: the Vaelorians. The signal wasn't a distress call, it was a message, repeating endlessly in a language now understood thanks to the archive. The message read, "The Shadow is not the end. Beyond the void lies a greater truth. Come if you dare to know." The discovery of the signal reignited the spirit of exploration across the galaxy. While many were content to leave the mysteries of the past undisturbed, others saw the signal as an invitation, a challenge to uncover the secrets of the cosmos. The Knights of the Accord, true to their oaths, volunteered to lead the expedition. Captain Leona Idris, now a Grand Knight, assembled a fleet of explorers, scientists, and diplomats. Among them were descendants of the original knights, as well as members of species who had once been enemies. Together, they formed the Unity Fleet, a coalition dedicated to venturing beyond the boundaries of known space. The endless journey. The Unity Fleet's departure was a moment of profound significance. Across the galaxy, billions watched as the fleet's ships disappeared into the void, their trails of light fading into the unknown. For many, it was a reminder of the galaxy's boundless potential, a testament to the courage and curiosity that defined its civilizations. As the fleet journeyed deeper into uncharted space, they encountered wonders and dangers beyond imagination. Planets with ecosystems defying known physics, star systems encased in ancient megastructures, and remnants of civilizations even older than the Vaelorians. Each discovery brought new questions, but the signal continued to guide them, growing stronger with every light year. And then, at the edge of existence, they found it, a massive structure, larger than any they had seen before. It was not Vaelorian, nor Shadow, it was something else entirely. Its surface pulsed with a rhythm like a heartbeat, and as the fleet approached, a single message was broadcast to their ships. Welcome, Knights of the Accord. Your journey begins here. The Eternal Legacy. The story of the Knights of the Accord did not end with their departure. On the worlds of the Union, their example continued to inspire. Children across the galaxy played at being knights, donning makeshift armor and reciting the oaths. Artists and poets immortalized their deeds, while philosophers debated the meaning of their ideals. In the Great Library, the file for the word knight grew ever longer. It chronicled not just the history of humanity, but the history of a galaxy united by a shared purpose. The word, once untranslatable, became a cornerstone of galactic identity, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, there are those who will stand for what is right. The galaxy would never forget the Knights of the Accord, for their legacy was written not in words, but in the stars themselves.